What's up, fellow polymaths? In this video of the Java Fundamentals tutorial, we'll be going over threads. Java is a multi-threaded programming language. This means that multi-threaded programs use Java. Threads allow a program to operate more efficiently by performing multiple tasks at the same time. Threads can be used to perform complicated tasks in the background without interrupting the main program. It's important to note that threads are executed once at a time. A multi-threaded program contains at least two threads that can run concurrently, and each thread can handle a different task at the same time, making optimal use of the available resources, especially when your computer has multiple CPUs. Multi-threading allows you to subdivide specific operations within a program into individual threads. Each of the threads can run in parallel. The operating system divides processing time not only among different programs, but also among each thread within a program. Multi-threading is mostly used in programs that require lots of memory, such as games, animation, enterprise software, and so on. The advantages of threads are that they are easy to implement, they can perform multiple operations at the same time, which saves time and increases efficiency, and they're independent, so each thread doesn't affect the other threads, if, for example, an exception occurs in a single thread. There are two ways to create a thread. One way is to extend the thread class and override the run method, and the other way is to implement the runnable interface, depending on what your main objective is with the threads. Each one has its own advantages. For creating a thread using the implementing runnable interface, you just have to override the run method provided by the runnable interface. And once the thread object is created, you can just start the thread by calling the start method, which executes a call to the run method. Note that you can only start a specific thread object once, and if you call the start method again using that same object, Java will throw an illegal thread state exception. For creating a thread by extending the thread class, you create a thread object and then override the run method, then call the start method. And that's pretty much it. Now, comparing extending threads versus implementing runnable. When a class extends a thread class, you can't extend any other class. Remember, a class can only extend one class. When implementing the runnable interface, it is possible to extend another class. And as I mentioned before, what you choose depends on what's required of your program as well as your preferences. So here's a diagram of the thread lifecycle. So the first stage in the thread lifecycle is the new stage, and this is where the thread object is created. So after the new stage, we can call the start method, and then that stage then enters a runnable state. So that runnable state means that the thread is active, or it's in a state that it can be ready to run at a moment's notice. Now, after the runnable state, you can use the run method to cause a thread to run. So these two states, the runnable and running, are the most common states. And after the running state, the thread can be in a state where it's waiting, such as, for example, when it's completed a task and hands the lock to another thread, or it can be in a dead state where the thread has completed its task and then finished execution and is no longer running. And in the waiting state calls the sleep method as well as the wait methods. Also, in a new state, you can also go from new to dead as well, which basically means that the thread doesn't even start at all. Alright, now that we have some information on threads, let's go into the code and try it out. Alright, so here in the code right now, and what we're going to do is try to utilize those two ways of creating a thread object. The first step we'll do is to create a thread by extending the thread class. Alright, so I've extended the thread class from the main class, and what we're going to do is override the run method that's contained in that thread class. Alright, now that I've overridden the run method, let's create a thread object so that we can call that start method. Alright, so I created the code so that we can call the start method, so all we have to do is just run this program and see what we get. Alright, so I ran the code and our result is the thread is currently running by extending the thread class. And that's a pretty brief example of how to create threads by extending the thread class and calling the start method. Now let's implement the runnable interface this time. Alright, so the main class this time is implementing the runnable interface, and I changed the code up a bit to say that it's implementing the runnable interface. So all we have to do is create an object, and that calls the start method. Alright, so now what I've done is, after we've overridden that run method, we've created two objects, one from the main class and one from the thread class. So the main object is passed into that new thread constructor, and this allows us to utilize that thread object and call the start method, which will call that run method that we overrode. So let's try that out right now. Alright, so now we have our result. The thread is currently running by implementing the runnable interface. So again, it's a pretty brief overview of threads, but those are some examples. And you can create a bunch of thread objects as well and have them run in parallel. That's pretty much the main usefulness for threads. It allows you to create as many objects as you want in parallel. Just some more notes about threads. Every thread has a priority that helps the operating system determine the order in which the threads are scheduled. In Java, a thread is only chosen by the thread scheduler if it's in the runnable state. However, if there is more than one thread in the runnable state, then it's up to the thread scheduler to pick up the threads and ignore the other ones. There are two factors for scheduling a thread: the thread priority and the time of arrival. Java thread priorities are in the range between the minimum priority, which is a constant of 1, and the maximum priority, which is a constant of 10. The higher the number, the higher the priority. And by default, every thread is given a normal priority of 5. Threads with higher priority are allocated processor time before the lower priority threads. However, thread priorities don't guarantee the order that threads execute and are platform dependent. A thread that arrives first gets preference over the other threads. If two threads with the same priority enter the runnable state, then the arrival time of the thread is considered by the thread scheduler. A thread that arrives first gets the preference over the other threads. Because threads run at the same time as other parts of the program, there's no way to know which order the code will run. When the threads and the main program are reading and writing the same variables, the values are unpredictable. The problems that result from this are called concurrency problems. To avoid concurrency problems, it's best to share as few attributes between threads as possible. If the attributes need to be shared, one possible solution is to use the isAlive method of the thread to check whether the thread has finished running before using any attributes that the thread can change. So basically, you could think of this as a quality control to make sure that the threads aren't conflicting with each other. So we have some thread methods, and you're familiar with a few of them. So the start method, which starts a thread, and then the run method, which you can use to override, and the setName method is able to set the name of the thread object, and the getName retrieves the name of the thread object. And the setPriority allows you to set the priority of the thread object that we talked about previously. And the sleep method allows a thread to be able to wait or go to sleep for a specified amount of time. And it's in milliseconds. So for example, passing in 5,000 inside the sleep method would represent 5 seconds. When starting 2 or more threads in a program, there might be a situation where multiple threads attempt to access the same resource, causing an unintended result due to concurrency issues, such as if multiple threads try to write within the same file, then that file might become compromised because one thread overwrites the data while another thread tries to open the same file. Synchronization is used to make sure that only one thread can access the resource. Each object in Java is associated with a monitor, which a thread can lock or unlock, and only one thread at a time may hold the lock to the monitor. The solution that Java provides is by using synchronizing blocks, which allows you to share resources within the block. And the syntax is basically using synchronized keyword and then passing in that thread object. The object resource is a reference to the object whose lock associates with the monitor that the synchronized statement represents. So as mentioned before, it's important that threads are communicating with each other, and some methods that allow the threads to talk to each other are the wait method, which is somewhat similar to the sleep method, and just allows the thread to wait for another thread until another thread calls the notify method. And the notify method wakes up a single thread waiting on the object, and the notify all wakes up all threads that call the wait method. The wait, notify, and notify all methods can only be called within a synchronized context. So this is the last slide before we get to the assignment, and it's an important one. Deadlock is when 2 or more threads are blocked forever, waiting for each other. Deadlock happens when multiple threads need to be the same lock, but obtain them in a different order. Multi-threaded programs can suffer from deadlock condition due to the synchronized keyword causing the executing thread to block while waiting for the lock associated with the object. And as a result of deadlocking, the program will hang forever because the threads are waiting for each other to release the lock and can't proceed. A solution to deadlocking is to change the order of the lock to prevent the program in going into a deadlocking situation. So you can think of deadlock, for example, as like the start of a basketball game where the referee throws up a ball and the 2 centers go up to jump for the ball. But in this case, the referee never throws the ball. So the 2 centers are constantly waiting for the ball to go up, but it never happens. So in this case, they're just waiting forever, and there's no defined time limit. So that's an example of what deadlock is like. A solution to this would be where if the referee doesn't throw out the ball by defined time limit, then you can replace that referee with some other referee that can actually follow the rules and throw up the ball within a sensible time frame. All right, here's our assignment for this topic. Number 1, name 2 benefits of threads. Number 2, what are 2 ways that allow a thread to be created? Number 3, what is the state where a thread is actively using a resource? Number 4, what is the name of the state where a thread is no longer being run? Number 5, write a small program that uses 3 different thread objects to output a message for each thread. Whatever way you want to create a thread is up to you. If this video was of any value to you, then please leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.